It's finally arrived. It's officially game week. And we're in the mode for a game here on the campus of the University of Alabama. We'll hear from Nick Saban and Dana Holgorsen coming up right now, only on Tider Insider TV.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris, and it is game week. We're pumped up. Buffalo Rock is too. They sent me a full supply of my favorite Pepsi soft drink, Pepsi Next. All that great Pepsi taste, but only 60 calories per 12-ounce can, so you can't beat it. You get Pepsi flavor, only 60 calories, which means you could drink 2.5 Pepsi Next for the same caloric intake as one regular Pepsi.
Do that.
Yeah, I probably do.
Oh, okay.
Because I love them so much. But you'll probably only have one. But I like the idea that I can drink 2.5 for the price of one, so to speak. Well, Rodney, nothing like the beginning of football season, and that's what we are talking about this week. The Crimson Tide continues to get ready for the first opponent of the regular season, West Virginia, this Saturday in Atlanta. But all the focus seems to be on who will lead the Tide's offense onto the field inside the Georgia Dome at 2:30 Central on ABC. Right now, Nick Saban is being asked almost constantly about the quarterbacks. Rodney, the good news is he seems pleased for the most part with both Blake Sims and Jacob Coker.
Yeah, he does. From what we can tell, I think that, when you look at it, Gary, he's a lot of people have asked, will both of them play? And, Coach Saban addressed that yesterday and was really non-committal on that, said that, just because a guy starts as a pitcher doesn't mean he's going to go the entire 9 innings. So, I think when you look at this game in West Virginia, it would not surprise me. We've talked about that many times if you see both Coker and Sims, regardless of who starts.
All right, Coach Saban yesterday at his first regular season weekly press conference, as we said, asked about the quarterbacks. He mentioned them, did not name a starter, then was asked a couple of times. Here now, Coach Saban on the Alabama quarterback situation.
Well, and I was going to look at the glass half full on that one, because you could say that both guys are playing really, really well, and it's hard to choose. All right, so you could really, say that both those things are, factors. But I do think competition is something that helps all players at any position. You'd like to have a guy that sort of steps forward and takes the leadership role and game management part of it, that makes all the other players on offense feel comfortable in what they're expected to do.
And last week, our B.J. Milliken spoke with Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football himself, about the Alabama quarterback situation. He didn't think then that there was any sense of urgency or any need for Nick Saban to pick a starter right away, and clearly he knows what he's talking about.
I think both are going to play against West Virginia. I think Nick Saban really doesn't have to make a decision at that position until they get ready to play Florida on September 20th. By then, I think he wants to have somebody in place. Now, if one of the guys had separated themselves, sure, he wins the job. That hasn't happened based on the people I talked to, so expect to see both of those guys until later on in September.
Rodney, very limited stats for both these quarterbacks, but the good news is they both do have live game action. Blake Sims here at Alabama and Jacob Coker at Florida State, so they're not totally inexperienced.
Well, they're guys that have been in, on this level at least, gone through practices, against some of the best defenses in the country. Let's be honest, Blake Sims has been here at Alabama, Jacob Coker's been playing at Florida State, and you know what kind of competition he faced every day in practice.
All right, as for the other side, we got to hear today from West Virginia's Dana Holgorsen at his weekly press conference. West Virginia is coming off a tough season. They had a lot of injuries a year ago at quarterback, and that spells trouble in big-time college football. Clint Trickett, another Florida State transfer, will start on Saturday against Alabama. But Coach Holgorsen was asked about the Tide's quarterbacks today, and he seems to think the whole situation's being a little bit overblown.
A lot's been made about their quarterback spot. I think too much has been made about their quarterback spot. They got two guys that are going to be able to run their offense. To me, with Coach Kiffin coming in, I mean, I've known Lane for a long time and has a great history of being able to coach some pretty good offenses. I don't think that what they do offensively is going to change a whole bunch.
And don't forget, with the first game of the year means the first Crimson Tide kickoff of the year, presented by Alpha Insurance, will be coming to you live this Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time inside the Georgia World Congress Center at the Chick-fil-A Fan Zone. Our guests include Bleacher Report's Barrett Salih and Christopher England from the Crimson Tide Sports Athletic Department. So look forward to that over in Atlanta. And much more coming up on Tider Insider TV. Next, we'll recap the weekend for a couple of former Bama stars in the National Football League. And we'll welcome a special guest to the set, Lars Anderson of Sports Illustrated, author of The Storm and the Tide. We'll discuss the book and the future of Nick Saban. That's coming up after the break. And also, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The information is on the screen on how you can get in touch with us, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us, TITV@WVUATV.com. And BJ loves you if you tweet at us. Hashtag Tider Insider TV. We're back with more of the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one and the only Tider Insider TV after this. It was another solid weekend for former Crimson Tiders in the NFL. Preseason action. Julio Jones is back with a vengeance. Get out of here. He's throwing guys around like rag dolls. 54-yard touchdown for Julio. He also had another catch. He looks ready to go. And Ravens rookie C.J. Mosley continues to impress. A pick against RG3 and the Redskins. A lot of Tide guys looking good in the preseason. Lars Anderson still to come right now. Rodney, you ready to take some phone calls?
Sure.
Guess who's first up?
Joseph
in Tuscaloosa. What up, partner? Joseph, talk to me.
Fell off.
Joseph fell off? All right. He did want to talk. I can't believe he fell off. He wanted to talk about the young offensive lineman and the offensive line overall. How's it looking?
Well, I think that's one of the big questions, Gary, heading into to the season. Certainly a key is your offensive line. You look at starting a true freshman left tackle in Cameron Robinson, and also, you're still at right guard. I don't want to say they're undecided because Shank Taylor started camp at number 1, and he kind of held on to that spot. Of course, Leon Brown was injured. Dominic Jackson had been working at that spot some before he was injured. Now he's out at left tackle. So, I think if they get that solidified, they've got some guys back. Ari Kwanjo has, experience at left guard. He started last season. Ryan Kelly's an outstanding player at the center spot. And at right tackle, Austin Shepard, in my opinion, is very underrated, one of the more underrated offensive linemen probably in the SEC. And so I think, Gary, once they get everything solidified, they have a chance to be a really good offensive line.
Something's wrong with that phone line because I know Joseph would never hang up on us.
Probably not.
When I see you, Joseph, I'm going to find out the truth. You better not have hung up on us. All right, let's go to Cordova and talk with another one of our good regular callers, John Max. Hey, John Max, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
My question, I got two questions
Okay.
for you. The other one is, who do you think will snap the ball for us as quarterback for Alabama, and how good do you think our pass rush is going to be?
All right, for pass rush, but tell me again on the first one, who will snap the ball to the quarterback?
Yeah, like who will snap the ball for us? Like what quarterback you think will play for us?
Oh, who'll get the first? Okay, all right, first, again, boy, we've talked about this a lot, John Max. I mean, I think we're going to have to wait and see. But since you asked me, I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. I think Blake Sims will take the first snap for Alabama on Saturday.
Sure sounds like it. I would, if I had to make a prediction right now.
All right, pass rush for Alabama?
Well, I think it'll be improved. I mean, when you look at the guys that they have, some of the, DJ Petway, we've talked about him, and I just think the numbers are better up front defensively, so I think that certainly helps. I think you're going to keep guys fresh. I think guys like Dalvin Tomlinson, who missed a good part of last season after being injured early, I think, all of those guys are going to help in terms of the pass rush.
All right, Rod. Coming up on TITV, we'll check in on a former Crimson Tide quarterback who got some good news at his camp this week. And next, welcoming more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. So give us a call here at Tider Insider. Lines are open. Also, we'll be talking with Lars Anderson, author of The Storm and the Tide, coming up on TITV. Stay with us. Well, he didn't get much playing time at Alabama, but I tell you what, things have worked out well for Philip Ely. He will be the starter at Toledo. The Tampa, Florida native out of Plant High School sat out last year, of course, for the Rockets after transferring, but was part of the 2012 Crimson Tide national title team through that touchdown pass there. Eddie Lacy, hopefully he'll do that a lot for Toledo. Good kid, and we wish him the best. Well, Now we welcome in a special guest to Tider Insider TV. You've read his work in Sports Illustrated for the last 20 years or so. He's written 5 books, but we're interested in the one that is out now. The Storm and the Tide, Tragedy, Hope, and Triumph in Tuscaloosa. Lars Anderson is with us. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
And I've read most of the book, haven't completed it, but read the liner notes, have listened to the reviews. First of all, just outstanding reviews on this book, and it seems to be, it covers a football team, but it's about a lot more than that.
Yeah, I tell people a couple things. One, the wellspring for this story, this book, which is my 6th, was a Sports Illustrated cover story that I wrote about 2 weeks after the tornado. And this book, by far and away, is the most important thing I've done in my career.
Wow.
And to me, it's not a football book. This is a book that is about tragedy. It's about what role sports can play in sort of in a therapeutic sense in getting over a tragedy, and it's also how the tornado bound the team and the town in a way that was unprecedented in college football history, and also there's a lot in there about how the tornado changed Nick Saban.
And with that said, you talk about how it kind of created a bond between Nick Saban and the community, and almost solidified, that he would be here for the rest of his career. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, on the day after, April 28th at 7 a.m., he meets his director of football operations, and they at the facility. They fill up a truck full of water that's left over from the 8A game a week before, and then they went out into the hardest hit community, and just right in the swath of destruction. And not only that, but Coach Saban goes by his son's house, which was a half a block from the path of the tornado. And so Saban realizes for the first time that death blew right next door, and that impacted him deeply. And Coach Saban often can be achingly ill at ease in small group settings. And over a 48-hour stretch, he hugged, comforted more people than any one person in the history of this state. And so for the first time, it deepened his roots in a community, made him feel part of the community, and I think it made it unfathomable, especially to Miss Terry, that they would ever leave.
That's a great comments you just gave us. And I guess the thing that hits me is, he's always done good work. The Knicks Kids Foundation's been around since Michigan State. He's always given back to the community, but based on what you said and my experiences covering him, he did seem a little unapproachable. And the human aspect of Nick Saban, we didn't see much. When he gets behind that podium, he's Coach Saban. But through this tragedy, he became, as you said, more of a member of the community, not just in terms of leading the Alabama football team, but just being one of us.
Yeah,
and people walking up to him and sharing their stories with him, and him really being touched by all of it.
And for the first time in his career, he quit thinking about football. Football didn't dominate his thoughts, and he started speaking with great eloquence about the importance of what's really important in life: relationships, being of service to others. And these were themes that he hit on consistently during the 2011 season, because he didn't need to dip into his bag of motivational tricks for that team. They knew it. They saw it every day. What they were playing for, and they were playing for hope. They were playing to give people hope, and that is something that is so profoundly necessary when you are in the grip of a tragedy like a tornado.
As you said earlier, we have seen this where tragedy turns to triumph, and of course you document Carson Tinker's situation, but normal, everyday people here in the community as well in the book. As you said, it's not just about football. Having said that, and you just touched on it a little, they did take this incident and rally around it, and the book kind of climaxes with the fact that this team went out and won a national championship, not just for themselves, but for the community and the entire state, really.
Yeah, the rallying cry was "Let's win for Tuscaloosa," and guys like Dante Hightower, Josh Chapman, guys who are now in the NFL, they spent the summer of 2011 in the hardest hit areas, working on cleanup crews. And people would come up to them and just say, do what you do best, and that's win on Saturday, and give us something to look forward to. And and I get in the book, I get into the dynamic that exists between the Alabama fans and what Alabama football means in Tuscaloosa, because it's special here. It means something different here than it means anywhere else. And so that imbued the players with more power to help than at any other place. So if this tornado had happened anywhere else in the country, it would have been different for the college football team. But the fact that it happened here made it so special. And the fact, I don't ever want to say a tragedy led to a national championship, but facts are facts.
Right.
After the tornado, only one team won a national title for the next 2 years.
Lars, Nick Saban now, he's a grandfather. This is his 8th season at Alabama. He's never been anywhere more than 5 seasons as a head coach at any of his other stops. You said you think he's here for the duration. Do you believe, not just because of the April 27, 2011 tragedy, but just in a lot of different ways, that he's more at peace now maybe than he's ever been in his coaching career and in his personal life?
Yeah, I mean, I think the edges have been softened a little bit. But there is still so much fire in that belly of his, and he doesn't slow down. You know, in the book, I talked to so many assistants, and they will swear. And you know, assistants are off limits to the media here.
Right.
Okay, so what I did is I tried to do an end around, and I talked to all the assistants who used to work here, and a lot of them swear they've never seen the guy yawn. You know, and it's just, and it's story after story of this legendary work ethic that he has, and that's what Nick has told me several times. I'm not anything special. What I do is I will outwork you,
right.
and that's what it boils down to. And I also get into the fact that that's a characteristic he inherited from his father,
right.
who ran a service station, and I get into what it was like for him growing up in West Virginia.
Well, we could talk about this for an entire show. Unfortunately, you know the time limits of television, but it's been a fascinating conversation. Again, I encourage you to pick up the book, The Storm and the Tide by Lars Anderson, Tragedy, Hope, and Triumph in Tuscaloosa. You see it there on your screen, available at all the major bookstores, plus Amazon.com and anywhere else online that sells books. Lars, we appreciate it. Great stuff.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, when we come back, we are going to check in on Todd Bramble's Alabama soccer team. They kicked off the season last week to mixed results, and we'll try to work in some more phone calls and emails and tweets as well. The information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. Great show tonight. Be a part of it. We'll be back after this. Mixed results for the Alabama soccer team as they kicked off the 2014 campaign. They clobbered Kennesaw State last Friday night 5-1, but then lost a heartbreaker on Sunday to Memphis 2-1 after they had led 1-0 at the intermission. Next up, a road trip to Austin Peay on Friday. Let's go back to our Med Center hotline. Rodney, and take some phone calls. They're lined up for us. First up is Gail and Aniana. Hey, Gail, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
I have a question that's concerned me for a couple of years. This year, I hope that it will be rectified. Are we going to have a kicker on kickoff that will be able to consistently put the ball into the end zone?
Yeah, thanks, Gail. We hear that a lot, Rod, about Alabama's inability to get touchbacks on kickoffs. What do you think about Griffith's?
Well, Gail,
chance of
I'm not
doing
going to make any promises, but I think he might be happy this year because I think maybe on a more consistent basis, one of the kickers will put it in the end zone, whether it's Adam Griffith or J.K. Scott, the freshman who's also kicking off. J.K.'s done an outstanding job in scrimmages and practices kicking off as well as, punting. But I think right now Adam Griffith is going to be the kicker on kickoffs. And, Gary, they say he's really done a good job
Yeah,
putting the ball
word
in the end
is
zone.
his fall camp has been impressive, been great. Booming field goals for 50-plus yards as well, so we'll look for that. All right, let's go to Cottondale and talk with Jerry. Hey, Jerry, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm just wondering if Coker wins the starting job and he has a good season. Do you think he'll come back next year? I mean, I'm throwing a little smoke on fire.
Yeah, Jerry. Really, to be honest with you, I mean, that's really a difficult question to answer. I mean, that's in all due respect, that's kind of getting ahead of the game there, I think, because, I mean, he hasn't even won the job here first. And he has a lot of the tools, so I understand what you mean in terms of, when the NFL looks at a quarterback, he's kind of the kind of guy they draw up in terms of, he's 6'4", 235 pounds, has a great arm. He has all the physical tools, but, I think he needs to kind of, win the job here and kind of prove himself first before, we get ahead of the game.
Let's go all the way across the state to the east side, to Clay County, and talk with Ricky. Ricky, welcome in. What's on your mind?
I just want to know that I know Alabama is loaded on running back. I just want to know if you think T.J. Yetter, is he going to start off, or you think Henry or Drake going to start?
Well, Ricky, I mean, I think T.J. Yeldon, certainly you're talking about a guy that's ran for over 2,000 yards in his first 2 seasons. I don't think Alabama's ever had a guy come in as a freshman and run for 1,000 and then followed up with another 1,000-yard season. He's got a chance to leave as the all-time rushing leader in Alabama football history. So, you know, I think T.J.'s going to be the man in terms of starting. But, you know, you've got 3 backs like that. Alabama's got a history of shuffling the backs. Gary, I think that's a wise thing to do. It keeps guys healthy, you know, fresh and that sort of thing. And you've got guys that are a little bit different. So all 3 of those guys, I think, are going to make a significant contribution this year.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. When we come back on TITV, it's the return of our game prediction segment. How do we see Saturday's game shaking out? We'll let you know. We'll also tell you what the most expensive football ticket in the nation is. You definitely want to stick around for that. It's not the Iron Bowl, by the way. TITV returning on a beautiful evening in Tuscaloosa right after this. It's always a tough ticket, but this year, the LSU-Alabama game in Baton Rouge, the most expensive in football, average price $568. The cheapest tickets you'll find on the internet, $242. Wow. Let's see what happens with that. Well, as is our custom on TITV, it's time to make our game predictions, and we start off with Alabama-West Virginia this Saturday. Rodney?
Well, you know, Gary, when you look at this game, certainly it's always difficult to predict the first game. I mean, you know, because there's a lot of questions you can't answer. But, you know, clearly Alabama has more talent. I think I pick them 34-10.
I'm right with you, 38-17. I do worry about West Virginia's offense, all the wrinkles, all the motion. I think they'll score a few points, but the Tide's got too many horses for the Mountaineers. All right, that's going to do it for the program this week. Thanks to the Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964 for outfitting Rodney and I in original elephant wear. Check them out on the University Strip or online. It's dinner time tonight. We are headed over to our good friend Philip Guy's place, Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport. Come out and talk some football with us, if you will, about 7:15 tonight. For Rodney Orr, our producer, B.J. Milliken, our technical director,